And you know, you got to think about these things like Spotify and how it's completely cheapened music, making it a total throwaway thing.
We had this opportunity to meditate, and I'd never done this, and I learned a lot about meditation moving into my spiritual growth. I found out it's really hard to meditate when you're drunk or high or hungover.
Oligarchy model, it can't last, but we have to be like, we're not doing it anymore.
This is, I think it's a very empowering thing to be an independent artist and take that power back, but it does come with a lot of growing pains and a lot of understanding that you're going to be your own manager.
Maybe humanity needed that to change the monster that was the music industry. That is the music industry. Anyway. So, wow. So 5 years ago, yesterday, was the last Pretty Mouth show, because it was the day that music died. That's what I call it. They shut down everything from COVID, and Pretty Mouth, my band at the time, had this West Coast tour, and my dudes flew out, drove out, whatever, and yeah, we played one show in Long Beach, California at Alex's bar, and the next day it was done. And I'm just thinking about how actually music never ever recovered from that. Even being out in Austin the last couple months, people were saying how that Austin never, a city like Austin, a city as musically oriented, and it's so ingrained in the identity of the city, never fully recovered from that. And you got to think about these things like Spotify and how it's completely cheapened music, making it a total throwaway thing, and how artists, they don't sell records because music's free. And it's a pretty evil design, in my opinion, but I'm also trying to think of how we can change that moving forward, because it's coming, because that model it can't sustain forever. The oligarchy model, it can't last, but we have to be like, we're not doing it anymore. So we got to come together and think of a way to change our current situation, us artists, so you artists out there, you musicians out there. Let's start getting creative. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm always thinking of something to do, or how can we change this, or what kind of platform can we make where fans can, support us. The family, our friends and family can support us, people that love music and want to help music. Anyways, these are just some thoughts I've been having today on the 5-year anniversary of the day the music died. So if anyone has any comments or has any thoughts about this topic or how it affected them, I'm sure there's a ton of you musicians out there and artists out there that completely affected you guys in a pretty negative way, but also made us have to change the way we do things, which I'm not 100% against. So everything happens for a reason. Maybe humanity needed that to change the monster that was the music industry. That is the music industry. Anyway, boy, we're working really hard at like one song at a time. We're working on releasing the song with the coolest music video, and what do we have to do to get this thing out there? It's so hard to get your music out there, but we've got a bunch of things in our pockets that we haven't released yet, and there's a lot of work going into it. So look out for that. Keep an eye on our releases and what we're doing, and we'll be putting out some live videos and trying to get creative with that. So just keep an eye out for what we've got coming up. Thanks. Thanks, guys. I gotta go. Peace.
I think about, I was working this event at Alex's bar, the Cormans and the Mummies was the last. It was the first that was terrifying. Big red hornet right in my face. But anyways, I digress. I was thinking about this very last show, and it was the first punk rock show that everybody was afraid to touch each other, and it was this very daunting feeling that we were going into, that it was just the weirdest vibe I've probably ever experienced at a show. And that leads me to start thinking about how much I've sort of reformed since then, and with music, and this fucking hornet is terrifying. Just keep rolling. They can sense your anxiety and your adrenaline, so don't let the hornets get to you. That's what I always say. I think of how I did start believing things were had some sort of divine intention around that time, because Marie had just gotten the I can't even remember what it's called, but it was a Dr. Joe Dispenza course of meditations, and we were thinking, how are we going to fit in time in our busy schedules to do these hour-long meditations at a time, this whole full course. And that was the breakaway, 5 years ago, almost to this day, that we, at first I had celebrated that I wasn't going to have to work for a month, or who knows how long. It was a very, I don't know, maybe that was sort of cynical looking back, but we had this opportunity to meditate, and I had never done this, and I learned a lot about meditation and moving into my spiritual growth at that point in time, and it inevitably helped me disconnect from a lot of the substance use that was going on, because I found out it's really hard to meditate when you're drunk or high or hungover. So that it really started a spiritual shift at that moment, and that really has been at the forefront of my journey over the past 5 years now. So it's cool to think about. I think music's going through a rough patch right now. It's really hard to say. I mean, the umbrella of independent music is so large, and it can be everybody still struggling at street level to people who have been working independently for multiple decades at building up their brand, understanding the business of it, and becoming entrepreneurs and all of this stuff. And this is, I think it's a very empowering thing to be an independent artist and take that power back. But it does come with a lot of growing pains and a lot of understanding that you're going to be your own manager, and you're going to be, while being the artist. And like, at what point do you step back? At what point do you delegate jobs to different people? I had a friend say to me the other night that the thing about you being your own manager is you got to rip yourself off at some point. So that made the cameraman laugh. As far as what we're doing with Spyderland, it's been sort of a bit of a step back for us to reassess how to go about things. We love putting out music, and we love putting out music videos. Doing these productions has been very rewarding, and we're moving forward into this internal operation growth. So we're building presence amongst all of that. Getting a further reach is very important, and these times are so tumultuous that there's a lot to be gained out there, and a lot to be learned just by extending out into the greater networks, utilizing some of these platforms, and just seeing what we can do as we persist, and we have an intent of growing into our better selves.